Hey,
Yo, yo.
how's it going, man? I think it's cutting in and out a little bit here. That might be on my side too.
Okay, we got a good connection.
Perfect. Yep, we got it now.
All right, all right.
How's it going?
It's going well, man. I'm in my car cause I got a 1-year-old and she's crazy, so I wanted to have some peace and quiet. So
No,
yeah,
absolutely. I totally understand that.
yeah.
Um, well, hey, I want to say thanks for joining us here tonight. I know, Minneapolis is crazy right now. Everything's coming to light.
Yeah, yo.
Yep.
Let me go in cause I can't. I don't got a connection. Let me get it. Let me go
Okay.
inside where I got some internet. So you cut off at Minneapolis going crazy right now.
Okay, yeah, I was just saying thanks for, for sitting down with us. I know everything's, there's a lot going on right now and we appreciate you talking with us here. I'm in St. Paul right now. Um but and this is kind of one of the first things I wanted to get into talking with you is Minneapolis has been, it's more than a music scene to you. It's been home. It's been you now have your kids that are growing up in it, and being in the music scene. And what is being a Minnesotan, man? Do you mean being somebody from Minneapolis, before and especially right now?
That's a good question, man. It used to mean trapped. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of frustration that people are dealing with now. They feel like there was a lot of gatekeepers and they were trapped, but with time and maturity, as a person, you realize that you got your own destiny in your hand. You know what I'm saying? But it's a proud place. What's going on in Minneapolis has taught me that it's much more community orientated than I thought. And I hate to even use the word community because it's so cliche, but like we are a tight knit city. The Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, and when we go through something, we go through it together. And there's a reason why the revolution started in Minneapolis. You know what I mean? And now we're seeing another revolution right before our eyes. You know what I mean? Whether it's infiltrated or not, it's much
Right.
needed. And I'm proud. I'm proud of my city. I used to. I'm from Minneapolis. I remember when people used to lie and say they was from Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And was scared to say they was from Minneapolis. So it's made me who I am today, man. And it's raised my children. And I met my wife in St. Paul, and now we Minneapolis and St. Paul, and I'm blessed to be from here.
Absolutely, man, and that's the reality of it. I came here. I'm from outside of Wisconsin, or outside of Green Bay in Wisconsin, and I moved here about a little over 4 years ago. And it's just it definitely felt like home when I came here. I never tell people like I'm from here still. Like it's still. I mean, I'm still from Green Bay, but I definitely had a sense of that feeling at home, especially when I came into the hip hop scene here. As somebody who wasn't super familiar with Minneapolis hip hop outside of a handful of acts.
Yeah.
Um, and as somebody that just was really just kind of an outsider on all aspects, I had local artists that instantly embraced me and said, welcome to the scene. Like if you're here to learn, we're here to teach. And so it was really, really something special to be a part of as well.
For sure.
Um, so one thing that we touched a little bit about with things going on in the world right now, your song Northside Nightmare, and the reality of you know, you write songs in the moment and they mean something to you in that moment, but how is it, seeing old songs that kind of still hold true to today versus wanting to progress past that?
It's bittersweet. You don't want to be right. You don't want to be correct about the things that you broadcast or the things you might even forecast. But it's a no-brainer. Growing up, there was always, Fong Lee, other homies that had been killed by police. So it's a part of our culture, and that's what's sad. It's a part of our culture. For me to even say that just hit my. I'm like, damn, to even say that shit. But I'm used to it, and it's part, and it being that it's a part of our culture, it's a part of my music. You know what I'm saying? And when I see it come to fruition, I'm not on some "I told you so" type shit. I'm just on some, be aware like how we've been aware, and we know what's up. And now it's to the point now where, you know, you got to be careful of who you're with, who you're talking to, where you go at night, because these lynchings is popping up and these police killings, they're a little more preconceived than people want to give it credit for. This is not just happening randomly. So Minneapolis is a very dangerous place for people like myself or my wife or certain people in the who speak out against that and speak out against, you know, the powers that be. And it's sad to see it, you know, be that true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you know it's hard to talk about with a lot of people, and it's part of the reason why I've done what I've done, because talking to everybody about what they're actually experiencing is more important to me than what you may read, what you may think you know, and talking with somebody like you who's lived through this for as long as you have, and um,
666 years. Yeah.
exactly. And so I think it's really important to listen is the reality of it is to listen when people are talking about this. And this is what I wanted to get in with Northside Nightmare is people need to listen to that song, and they need to listen to what's being said instead of, you know, it's a song, you know, I'm going to bump this song. Like, listen to what that message is, and when it comes back up, be aware that, like, you might be hearing it for the first time, but it's not the first time.
It's
Uh,
life. It's life for a lot of us.
right. And speaking on, you know, your life, your family, you know, with Nazim and Spencer coming up in the scene, um, you know, what was it like having your son doing everything that he's doing, and really, what did you want to see out of that? Like, what was it? Did you see him coming up in this, or was this just something that sprouted out with him?
I remember when he was, I think, 16, he spit his first verse for me in the car. I didn't know he was rapping. I was kind of mad that he was rapping because I'm like, you don't want that life, right? But they learned from a lot of my mistakes and a lot of the things that I went through. And the thing that I'm most proud about Blood Smoke Body and them is that they're very self-sufficient, you know, and they learn not to rely on anyone. And a lot of stuff that's going on right now, you see like the gatekeepers block on a lot of people. I'm proud to say my children never had that. You know, they know that they can do anything they want. They know that they're going to
One second here. Okay, your voice got real soft there for a second. I
Okay,
just
you
wanted to
hear me
speak.
now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Yeah, they understand. My daughter and my son fully understand, and Spencer and Liban and everybody in Blood Smoke Body, they fully understand that they are capable of anything and that the world is theirs and they don't have to rely on anybody. And that's why they make their own music, record their own music, you know, film their own videos because of how they were brought up. Because they're not going to be sitting around waiting on nobody. And to see what they have become as artists, to see my son not grow up like me, you know, a promiscuous asshole. You know what I mean? Like because he had a father in his life, I didn't. I'm very proud of where my children, you know, of what they become and who they are as men and as people.
Absolutely, and that's actually, I mean, walks right into the next thing that I was going to talk about, which is, you know, they say the best way to learn is to teach. And for you, you know, have you found yourself learning?
I've never heard that, but I like that. That
Yeah,
was tight.
it's,
The
you know,
best way to learn is to teach. I like that.
it's one of the things, you know, I've always heard it growing up, and you know, I grew a better understanding of that when I tutored in college, and really the depth that I was learning material while because you have to then figure out not just how to know the material, but how to get somebody else to know the material. And so for you, you know, have you found yourself, you know, learning a lot from how Spencer, how Nazim, Spencer, Laban, all those guys, how they do the craft, or do you see yourself, you know, picking up on some of their aspects of it?
Well, definitely, but even more than them, I learned more from my daughter. Nazim has a twin, Niani, and I don't. If I question anything in my life, I go to my wife and my daughter. You know what I mean? And my daughter is kind of like what teaches me as far as, because they're young men trying to make it in this world as well, and I just let them do them. But when I need information and I need value, and am I doing this right, am I doing this wrong, I call my daughter or I talk to my wife, because they put me in place. There ain't, as far as this rap shit, there ain't nothing nobody can teach me about it, really. You know what I'm saying? I'm all ears, and like you said, but I'm all ears, and I do want to learn more, and I can always learn more. But you know, there's something to be said about longevity. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And I'm still here and I'm still doing my thing. And if you don't got that hunger, then why do it? But I'll always have that hunger, and I feel like I can spark them to have that hunger, and then I feed off of their energy. So I will say their energy and their fan base and their loyalty to each other does teach me a lot and shows me a lot. But I get all my shit from my wife and my daughter as far as how to maneuver out here, and you know what I'm saying, and not be the offensive asshole, or not be, you know, because I don't mind offending people, but I don't want to be a prick about offending people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if I offend you, it's because of my opinion, and you're gonna be. I can't please everybody. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Absolutely. And you know, it is telling. I didn't really think about this until you had mentioned, you know, talking to your wife or your daughter about it. But there's certain things I go to talk to my brothers or talk to my dad about. But when it really comes down to learning about myself a little bit more,
You
I
got to
tend
talk
to,
to your mom.
yeah, I talk to my mom or I talk to the women in my life, and the reality is that, you know, that has taught me a lot more about myself, whereas my dad has taught me a lot about how to, you know, maneuver through the world and
How
do
to
a lot of
maneuver.
those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
But you talked about your music, and that's kind of one of the things I do want to get into here as well, is your latest project to drop. If you can kind of go into that and what it's like to have kept this longevity and what you feel has continued to produce. I mean, you continue to produce a high quality of music, but being able to produce a high quality for this long, what has really driven you to do that?
I stay surrounded by women in my life, and I stay surrounded by young people, and I also talk to my OGs, and you know, I stay current. I listen to the young. I listen to the young people music. I still listen to my Wu-Tang. You know what I mean? And I try to blend it. And with this album, Flowers Blossom, you know, we started in January when Lexi had passed, and then Kobe passed, and then I was like, we just gonna call this shit Flowers Blossom on top of coffins, because we're losing people. Then I lost my buddy Flinch. Then I lost my buddy Coley. Then we're just steady losing people. So it was kind of a celebration for the dead. You know what I mean? So not even for the dead, for the lives of those who've lost their lives. You know.
Right.
So and this was the first album I did with no samples. You know, so I wanted to challenge myself on that note, and it's a little more bouncy than what I would normally do. It's not as boom bappy. So I try to pick certain projects that challenge me and make me want to get up and record, get up and go to the studio, as opposed to just listening to a beat that go,
Right.
you know, the 88 beats per minute all the time. You know what I mean? That gets played. So if I can try a little double, that gets me excited to go to the studio. And I'm becoming a better songwriter. You know, over the years, I'm becoming a better songwriter, which helps me put out better music and keep up with the times. But I also still have that lyrical assassin ability, so that sets me apart from just trying to sound like everybody. I'm still
Right.
doing me, you know. So I kind of take pride in my formula.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and it's a big part of, you know, it's you have to stay somewhat current. I mean, and not only just to continue to gain fan base and everything else, but if you're not continuing to understand what music is turning into, then I mean, then you may as well stay in the 90s. Like if it's just going to be the 90s, then nobody's, you know, music's constantly evolving, people are constantly evolving. So, but being able to keep yourself inside of that music, I think, is what's vital and what separates a lot of people. And like you talked about, that's the longevity, is you're keeping yourself, people are seeing you, but they're getting it in a different sonically way. And I think that's great. And I think it's really cool to hear, you know, the meaning behind Flowers Blossom. You know, especially with how this year started out. I mean, it was tough for really the whole hip hop community to see Lexi go, and so it is cool to hear that side of the story. And one song in particular that stuck out to me, and this is a song I've played, I can't even tell you how many times, is Sticks and Stones.
Yeah.
And I think about it just from a personal standpoint of growing up, being born in '90. You know, in my childhood of growing up on kind of a 10-acre farm out in the middle of nowhere, and we spent our whole lives, you know, outside playing, doing all this. They gave us a little time to play video games, but video games weren't video games when I was growing up. Like that was Super Nintendo maybe. So you know that the
So
whole kids.
you understand the necessity of children playing outside.
Right, growing up like that. But then I also think about me now and how much I'm on my phone and how much I've gone from being that kid that was outside. And I still go outside. I still, you know, I still try to be out more outdoorsy when I can. You know, during COVID, I've been far more, you know, emotionally drained to do much of anything. But like, I still like to be outside, but I definitely find myself on my phone way more. And so like the chorus definitely hit me one way, but I just want to hear, you know, how that process goes about writing about these political ideals and being able to stay current with these things and kind of where that all drives from.
You know, we played with the hook, and I was like, yeah, no, 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 no. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. But then I was like, this is exactly how it happened. I was like, fuck Trump and Obama. And this is when, and this is when I think, because I don't like Obama either. I don't like when people hate Trump, but they like Obama. Like you can't there's no such thing as a good president. So I said that, and I was joking. And everybody in the studio, I had like 5 people in the studio, and they started cracking up. And I'm a firm believer that if you say something in the studio and people laugh, you got to say it, you know? So so that was my mindset with the whole thing. And that was around the time when one of those nations, Venezuela or Iran or somebody, offered 80 million to kill Trump. Right. And I'm like 80 million on that nigga head. That's a come up. Like, I would love to get that 80 million. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And the government's reading my mind. Feel like Ali in his prime. Like I you know, like when you say, I could use a new pair of overalls. And then you look on your Instagram and you got an overall ad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's only like 15, 20 companies running everything. You know what I'm saying? And these people meet and they figure out ways to manipulate society and pull people apart, bring people together. You know, they dictate all of us because of our phones. So that's what that song's basically about, that we're all surrounded by, we all just sitting on our phone and really don't nobody want to go outside. And then the old people are shitting on the youth. And, you know, and I made the song before the revolution started, but now you have to salute the youth. Salute the youth. I said salute Duluth.
Yeah.
salute the youth in Duluth.
Yeah.
So because they took the reins of this revolution and they made it happen, man. And I'm very proud of our young people. And the reason that happened is because we didn't do it when we were young, is because they gave us crack. And we were either on crack or we were selling it. And we don't got time for a revolution. We got to make this money or we got to smoke crack. It was one or the other. You know what I'm saying? Or play basketball or something. But the school wasn't even an option. And people didn't have time for revolution. We had to get this money. They had us distracted. Now kids don't have no fucking money. All they have is debt. And they're mad that they not only do they have debt, but they have debt for a college that didn't even teach them nothing. And now, not only did I graduate, I'm sitting outside rioting with a 4 or 6 year degree, and I work at Starbucks.
Right.
You goddamn right I'm about to I want to burn down a police station. You know what I'm saying? And I salute the bravery and the courage of the youths in them for getting out of there. But it's America who had fucked up and didn't give them nothing. And it's not their fault. They had nothing. You know what I'm saying? People don't stand on the corner and sell drugs no more. That was our era. You know what I mean? My kids, Spencer, Nazim, they ain't never been to jail. When I was their age, I've been to jail 20 times. We get arrested for nothing. You know what I mean? They don't have to deal with that. They have a different life with no hope in sight because of economic debt, and there's no money and there's no hustle. You know what I'm saying? So what else can they do?
Right, and I think it's important to note what really the amount of time that people have on their hands right now to really be able to talk with each other. I don't think it happens without the virus and everything, because people were so wrapped in their own world, but now you have all this extra time. People are spun
Not
up.
only the virus, but you already had a mask and gloves on.
Right.
It was the perfect time.
Right. Right. I agree entirely. And I said the same thing. There's a lot of, not just, I'm only 30 years old, but there's a lot of really young people that are taking charge in a lot of these communities, and you're seeing really great things. And I think that's really promising to see as well, because you're seeing, is it your dog there?
That's cool.
But it's really promising to see that the more young these political movements are, the more promise you have for the future. So even if there's a sprint and a marathon, but that marathon looks really good when you have this much youth involved in it. And one thing that I've noticed is, social media, there's plenty of bad on it, but it also has a way of connecting a lot of people that couldn't get connected through. So I think that there is some positive sides to what's going on with that as well.
For sure.
So I want to jump into the heart of this, which is our quarantine question. So this is, we just asked a handful of just kind of short answer questions, just kind of get your view on what life in quarantine has been. I know we're starting to open up a little bit more here, but the way Florida's going, we might.
You ain't heard?
What's that?
35,000 new cases. It's about to close again.
I know. Well, I was just going to say, Florida's kind of ruining it for everybody now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what's the first question I have for you is which artist has been the heaviest on your playlist through this?
Mariah Carey.
That was not where I was expecting that coming from, but
my daughter loves Mariah Carey. Me and my wife, we get sick of each other, or if my daughter's tripping, we put on Mariah Carey, we put on the Emancipation of Mimi, and everybody's cool. Mariah Carey gets a lot of play in this house.
Well, that's good. You can find that solid ground then.
Yeah.
So, this is another thing for me. I know you have your wife, the 1-year-old, family around a little bit more, but quarantine kind of, it makes you got to be a little bit more alone. Even if it's with your family, you're alone a little bit more often. And you tend to do a little bit more odd stuff when you're alone. For me, a lot
of walking around naked. Is that what
right. One thing that I've noticed with myself is I make a lot of weird faces. So if I'm jamming out to some music, or whatever, I'll catch myself in a mirror, in a reflection somewhere, and I'll be making I'll catch myself making just weird faces. Yeah. But what's one thing that you kind of caught yourself doing that you've been what am I doing right now?
Caring about the wrong things.
Yeah.
Getting online, getting on my phone, and next thing, did you see this? Did you see what this guy? And it has nothing to do with my life, and I'm mad walking around. I can't believe this motherfucker called him the N-word at Walmart, and why am I even watching this? So it definitely has made me care about some shit that I wouldn't normally care about if I was out and about, kind of handling. But yeah, getting caught up on my phone is one thing that I'm guilty of, that I would like that the quarantine kind of exaggerated.
Sure. No, yeah, you get down some rabbit holes on the internet, you can definitely find some stuff.
Bro, I was in I'd be going in these prison rabbit holes, this prisons in Tibet or Thailand, and then they got the guys in Thailand, if they win a fight, they get 2 years off their sentence. And then I was in a Fat Joe rabbit hole. I watched 20 Fat Joe videos. I'm just learning about a lot of bullshit. And I'm go back and Google real estate. Go back and Google, mental health. Go back, do things that, songwriting, how to promote, how to, do some shit that's going to benefit your life, and stay out of those meaningless rabbit holes.
Right, absolutely, and I find myself, I do a lot of the same type of things where you catch yourself. There's I do Locked Up Abroad. where you start watching some of the crazy prisons that they have elsewhere in the world.
Like Locked Up Abroad. Hey,
Yeah.
there's this new show called To Catch a Smuggler, Peru. So Peru is the #2 distributor of cocaine in the world.
Yep.
So their airport has more cocaine. They catch more people smuggling cocaine than any other place in the world. And so every 10 minutes, please come with us. Please come with us. Please come with us. These people got their babies with them. They got 9 suitcases. And then they pour out the cocaine, and it's like 19 kilos, and they got 2 kids, and they'll never see their kids again.
Yep.
The cartel's making them. But anyway, I can talk about that show all day. But that show is heavy, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to catch a smuggler. I'm gonna have to check that.
But they got To Catch a Smuggler, but you have to watch the Peru.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out for sure.
The things people do for money, holy shit, man.
It's tough, and it's one of those things that, you know, it's weird watching some of these things for entertainment. You know, one of the shows that I watched a ton was 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days. It's one of those things where it's like I can't watch a lot of it because I start to be like, am I watching this for entertainment or for education? And that's what it.
My mother-in-law hit me to that show, and I hated it. And then next thing you know, I'm watching it.
That's exactly how it goes.
And it's like they play like 90 of them in a row. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah.
The last time I binged on a show like how she watches that, I remember the first time I saw Naked and Afraid. I watched that for 2 days straight. But my favorite shit on TV is Shark Tank. That's my favorite shit.
Yeah, yep. I love entrepreneurial stuff. That's always crazy to see.
Bro, I cry watching Shark Tank. When people get that deal, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy because I always watch it from two sides. Like, one side of me is going, you know, I want to see the little guy get this big deal. But the other side is like, I want to know if somebody's come up with some of the stuff I've come up with. And if like my track is on the right side for like the stuff that I think about. So it's always interesting to see that. So the next one I want to get into, this is, you know, for the beginning of the year is always a time when a lot of people go on diets, but, you know, coronavirus kind of threw that right out the window when everybody got into quarantine. You know, everybody was eating whatever made them feel good, for good reason. So what's something that either you've eaten too much of or like you just can't get enough of?
Donuts. Man, I go nuts for donuts. One time in California, you know, California got the best donuts in the world. Me and my buddy went half on a dozen donuts, and I ate 8 of them. like in one night. I'm talking about big ass donuts. So the one brand, Intamins, you know, Intamins, or
I'm not familiar, but
it's got the blue writing and the white box. They got donuts, they got cakes, they got everything. It's the white box with the blue writing.
Yep.
Any donut that they make or anything, it's made with so much love and deliciousness that I had to really like do therapy on myself and slow down. You know what I mean? Like the first 2 weeks of quarantine, donut heaven, baby.
I gotta remember the name of these because I'm a big fan of donuts, but my problem is I eat like trash donuts.
No. Does anybody know watching the name of the donuts that starts with the E? Intamins or something. It's such a weird word that it's
Entenmann's.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So I do know those. I am familiar with those. So like coffee donuts.
The chocolate ones.
Yep.
See, that's why I'm glad I don't live alone. Because if I lived alone, I'd be walking around naked. I eat a whole box of them. You know what I mean? I'm glad I got people around me to hold me in check, bro. I'll be great, man.
Yep. And that's how I was always the Quick Trip, like those Quick Trip glazed donuts is the ones.
Trash. Them SA donuts, them feed them, all that shit's trash.
Oh, and I know, but that's what I go after. I always go after real garbage donuts are like, that's just the top of the line for me. But yeah, so the next question I want to ask you, you know, we talked about it a little bit, but 2020's been a lot for a lot of different reasons. Starting off with Lexi, Kobe, into the COVID, into the uprising, into the now allegations going on. But I think it's really important for people to be able to fight for everything, but also to be able to decompress and de-stress. And so, what's one thing that's always helped you kind of take a break from everything?
I live right by the river. I walk 2 blocks with my daughter or my dog, and I just take a walk, man. I got an epic view out behind my house, and I go to the river, and I talk to the universe, man. And I'm a nature dude, man. I took a vow like a year ago that I'm gonna start being more in tune with my whiteness and go camping and go outside and shit like that. And it's really helped my life, man. And just being able to deal with everything going on, and being blessed to have a wooded area next to me with water, and have a 1-year-old that goes tree dog. Just to see her discover such shit that we take for granted, that just puts me at ease and blows my mind. So it's my daughter, and it's them nature walks, man, and it's just being outside. And I'm glad that this happened, with the summer coming up and we're not stuck in the house.
Absolutely. It's funny that you think about watching kids grow, and that's one of the things that I have 5 nieces and nephews, and watching them kind of start to pick up on things. But I just thought about, I don't know why, if it was just the idea of you walking out by the stream or whatever, but my sister-in-law sent me a Snapchat today, my nephew, and I was like, this is like our childhood to a T, but pants to the ankles, just peeing on a tree out in their backyard. And I was like, that's just life, man. That's like, that reminds me.
Something so simple is just so, it says so many things,
Absolutely, man. So, the last thing I kind of wanted, the last question I have for you is, with things starting to open up, and hopefully, Minnesotans are a little bit smarter about covering their face with the mask and wearing gloves and doing everything else, and we can continue to progress. But what's one thing that, aside from live music, that you can't wait to come back into reality?
I do miss sitting down with a reservations for 15 and sitting down in a group and having a group dinner. I do miss that. I'm starting to miss that a lot. I kind of miss maybe concerts, not as much though, but I miss restaurants, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. I used to, the thing that I miss the most is being able to just walk to a bar and just have a drink and watch the game. Just something, it's so simple.
Oh, you said it though, sports too. I mean,
Yeah.
God damn it. I don't even like baseball, and I miss baseball. You know what I'm saying?
I was like, I would kill for just some PGA right now. Just give me some golf.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, hey, I wanted to give this last chance to you here to just kind of talk to the people about anything, your projects, your merch, your music videos, anything that you got in your mind, or anything coming up.
Just tap into @Muja Messiah. It's on Twitter, it's on Instagram, on Facebook. Stay tuned in with me, because we on a journey, man. And this ain't just a musical journey. This is a life journey, and I'm here for y'all. And I want to be here for y'all, and I need people to be there for me and for my movement. And we all in this together, man. Good or bad, we this is our journey, and we know we got one common enemy. That's the goddamn police. Goddamn it, abolish them motherfuckers. Abolish the police.
Absolutely, man. I'm right there with you on it. And hey, I wanna say thank you again for tuning in with us. Thanks to everybody that watched tonight. We appreciate you. I know things are crazy, and you got the family and everything else going on, so I really do appreciate you catching up with us.
Upcoming hip hop, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate y'all, man.
Have a good night, man.
You too. Peace.